Our focus in this channel is to make you more of a financial and emotional blessing to yourself and those you love. The purpose of the deep dive is to understand where markets could be going and where opportunities could be arising no matter where they are. You'll find information here that you won't see or hear of anywhere else. Let's run the numbers. Literally in just an hour ago, James has been talking about the Ethereum ETF issuers. There's a lot of activity, and it looks like ETH is going to get its ETF. Even if this is the case, James says, bumping this post, seeing broad misconceptions that approval means immediate launches of the Ethereum ETFs. This isn't necessarily the case. There will be days at a minimum, likely at least weeks, and potentially likely to be months between approval and launches here. So just something to bear in mind. In other news, Donald Trump becomes the first major party candidate to accept crypto donations. In other news, Grayscale removes staking proposal from its spot Ethereum ETF filing, as have a few others. Pretty interesting stuff here. Coinbase to launch gold and oil futures trading. Wow. And that launch is slated for June. Don't be surprised if the real-world tokenization narrative starts to spark up as Chainlink expands its partnership to tokenize real-world assets. In yesterday's video, I asked the community members, what would you advise your younger self or starting self when you're getting into financial markets? Ambassador Al says start small and scale, layer into and out of positions like a dimmer switch. That way you'll never have to worry about buying the bottom or selling the top. The nameless, faceless institutions always say you've got to buy the bottom and you have to sell the top. It's a lot of rubbish and they never do it anyway. What you want to do is just to participate. You never miss out, and this is exceptional advice. In other news, the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission, has contacted exchanges to update spot Ether ETF applications. Things are definitely hotting up. The probabilities of a spot Ethereum ETF are going up, but they're not guaranteed until it happens. This is something that you need to be aware of. But Ethereum in the past 24 hours did quite well, no doubt about that. In fact, just at the time of this recording, Ethereum came up 21.42%. In relationship to Bitcoin's only 4.5% increase, so ETH crushed it. Interesting to see that the Ethereum killer Solana didn't do so well, but it did come up 0.36%. Doge also did quite well. It was up 11.27%. Yesterday, the market looked like this. Ethereum up, Solana up. Oh, so many things up. They were just cooking. Just take a note of this. Ethereum just going crazy. Ethereum Classic coming up. Arbitrum, Theta, Optimism coming up, Injective coming up, IMX. Just keep your eyes on these. Things tend to move as a group. It's really important to identify when strength comes into the market, where does that strength filter through to different projects? It's a really good thing to look at. Uniswap has responded to the SEC Wells notice. We are ready to fight for DeFi. This is all good in terms of Ethereum as well. Yesterday, inside the Ethereum, the DeFi ecosystem, we saw Uni and Maker, LDO doing really quite well. Aave, ENA, there's a lot of things that did very well. And if we could get a color change on this, it would be even better. The darker green is definitely the way to indicate what's coming up the most. Right now, we're seeing a little bit of a change in terms of the ecosystem, the crypto ecosystem. Bitcoin is just up marginally. Pepe has done incredibly well done. And we can see Ethereum is just up a little bit. DeFi is pretty mixed. And Solana is not doing too well. The problem with Ethereum killers, if Ethereum gets a spot ETF, that's going to throw a degree of negative pressure on Ethereum rivals. But just think about this. Over the longer term, if Ethereum gets an ETF, the Ethereum killers will also get ETFs, and this could be really good long term. Remember, red days are for stacking, red days are for acquisition. Looking into the DeFi ecosystem, we can see that's pretty mixed. LDO is still doing reasonably well. If Ethereum is going up, the ecosystem, the ETH ecosystem will be going up as well. Let's have a look at what that includes. It includes SHIB, Render, Mantle, Arbitrum, Starknet, and Beam. And a lot of bargain hunters could be looking at things that have been going down somewhat in recent months. Some other plays inside the Ethereum ecosystem: Ondo, WorldCoin, Sandbox, Wormhole, Jasmy, AXL, Arkham, and Manta. Don't forget that the value shoppers could get into these really hard-hit crypto projects, because if ETH is going up, you can bet they're going to go up eventually as well. How could the crypto market be moving? We need to keep all our rules in mind. Rule 225 is a pretty good one. Bitcoin. And now why are we talking about Bitcoin? Because if Bitcoin comes up, guess what? Everything is going to come up with it. But if Bitcoin goes down, guess what? You got it. Everything is going to go down with it as well. One thing that we know, Bitcoin cannot escape the stock market's gravity. So we need to look a little bit further than just the crypto market. The main market in the past trading session did quite well, and as I was talking about in the past video, the financials got really hard hit. We can see some degree of rebound occurring. And look at Tesla. Wow, well done, Elon. And NVIDIA earnings are coming out later, so NVIDIA's not doing too badly as well. Inside the main markets, all sectors were up 0.25%. The best performers, utilities and consumer staples, with financials just behind. The worst performing sectors, real estate, industrials, and energy. Looking at the stock market's greed levels, we can see the stock market has a 63 reading, which is greed. It came just down slightly, but it has been recovering of late. As people seek to take on more and more risk, crypto becomes really enticing. So bear this in mind. It's a really good thing to understand. In the last trading session, we saw the VIX, the volatility or fear gauge of the main market, just plummeting. The Nasdaq did really well. Look at all that positive momentum. And we can see that bonds kind of normalized just somewhat. Gold is continuing to be hit. It's continuing to decay, which is really interesting because the yields are coming down. The DXY is also coming down. There's a bit of a divergence here. In fact, let's look into gold. Why has gold been coming down? Because you can see from a structural perspective, up around that 2444 level, there's so much structural resistance right up here, and it's really strong, and it's got layers of structural resistance above that particular price. That little green line, that is our positive normalized price path closeout, and we saw that gold tapped it and then has been retracing. What you're seeing here in this blue line is Bitcoin's price momentum. And this little white line, kind of grayish, is US liquidity. We're seeing US liquidity being drawn out of the market at the current time. Bitcoin's rally had a lot to do with the Ethereum news of a potential approval. It's sitting at around that 75% mark. In terms of gold, we can see there's just a minor structural support level just below that 2418 level and around the 2406. If the bulls get back in control, we would expect that 2444 level to be reconfirmed as support. But if the bearish case persists, we would expect a breakdown to around that 2386 level. It's a really good thing to keep in mind that certain stocks give us indications of what could be happening inside the crypto market. For example, NVIDIA is a sort of a poster child for AI across the stock market and, of course, in crypto as well. We've seen that NVIDIA has been following the normalized positive price path and it's not decaying. Generally, when it doesn't decay, it's pointing towards a meeting of earnings because the large end of town, the top end of town, tends to get out of trades before the results are announced. Surprise, surprise. And in Forbes, just in, NVIDIA stock hits record high ahead of blockbuster earnings. Therefore, understanding the AI sector in the crypto space is a really good thing to do, and especially if we get overlap with the Ethereum ecosystem as well. A lot of people are likely to just do a bit of bargain hunting, so just be aware that some of the ones that have been hit in the AI space may turn around very, very quickly. Of course, following on from strength is also a really good idea to do. Financial markets are quite addicted to stimulus, and US liquidity will give us a pretty good idea of what is occurring inside the markets. It takes US liquidity these days to pump the markets, so just be aware if US liquidity starts to drop down, that's not such a good thing for markets. A lot of people say, Ken, I only want one direction. Is it going up or is it going down? And if you look at price action, it's always moving in a wave-based function. Anybody who says it's only up or it's only down is clearly nuts, because price can go up in a downtrend and down in an uptrend. Overall, the markets are very, very positive. Now that we've got a bit of an understanding as to what's been happening, let's look inside the crypto market. And looking on a daily basis, we can see that Bitcoin has been doing really well. Ethereum, of course, has been crushing it because a lot of people thought that Ethereum was dead and gone and buried. Generally, if you've got a retail narrative out there, just invert it. You'll get closer to the truth of what you're actually looking at. Binance Coin is starting to recover. Solana doing quite well. Everything will do quite well as Bitcoin recovers. Bitcoin is the tide that lifts all boats, at least in the crypto market. According to the Crypto Fear and Greed Index, we're currently at extreme greed. Yeah, we're just pumping inside the crypto market. And just be aware that extreme greed doesn't tend to last, so we're going to get retracements along the way. Many people will think that they've just missed the boat, but you never miss the boat because price is always moving in a wave between structural levels. In the past 24 hours, we've seen 219.53 million in total liquidations, the vast majority of which have been short, which has pushed the markets up. A lot of people talk about total Bitcoin spot ETF inflows. What I would like to draw your attention to is capitulations. Positive capitulations are where you get a big breakout, and negative capitulations the same but in a negative direction. Just be aware, big breakouts to the downside usually hammer in bottoms, and big breakups to the upside usually hammer in tops. But of course, what we're seeing here is increasing flows, and they're quite moderated. So this is a really good thing because it does impact Bitcoin's price. Looking across the past 24 hours, we can see Bitcoin is moderately up, Ethereum doing not too badly, as is BNB. This was a really interesting thing. With BNB, it was coming up even though the crypto market was going down. That's a pretty good sign, and something that would have caught a lot of people off guard. I was one of them. I didn't expect BNB to have such strength, and I could have made much more on my trade than I did, but hey, this is the nature of price. We can see that the Ethereum killer Solana is being a little bit suppressed in terms of price at the current time. And Dogecoin, the memes, are doing really well. How do you look at memes as a sort of a smart money institutional investor or trader? The meme coins, because they're such low prices, they tend to pull people in. Who are they pulling in? The retail crowd. So you can think of memes as a retail gateway or the retail door, and it gives you an indication of market sentiment. Right now, to see the meme coins coming up is a really good thing. It means that retail is flocking to the crypto market. Turning towards the greatest gainers in the past 24 hours. Ooh, the meme coins, Peppy, Floki, and Bonk. It's all happening. Arbitrum, ENA, Pendle, and Ronin. The greatest losers in the past 24 hours are Arweave, Rune, Nia, Solana, Jup, Link, Quant, and Phantom. What the hell is Chainlink doing in there? We know the Bitcoin and therefore the alts can't escape the stock market's gravity. What is the stock market doing at the moment? As determined by the futures, we can see the S&P 500 futures doing really nicely. What about the NASDAQ? Yeah, that's not too bad. What about the Dow? That's also coming up. And the Russell is a little bit weak, but it's improving. If this keeps on going, it will pull the entire crypto market up with it. The promise of an ETH ETF has been driving things under the covers, and don't forget that the top brass always knows what's going on. The street finds out later. Things are looking really positive. A lot of people just expected Bitcoin and the entirety of the crypto space to take off like a rocket. That actually didn't happen. Price is always moving in a wave. It's going up, coming back, consolidating, and seeking to go up further. Right now, we've just encountered a level of resistance up here from a recent indicative price perspective. No wonder we got a pullback. A lot of people will just tell you the market is going up, go all in and more. I would suggest there's probably a better way of doing things. Just like Ambassador Al said, just scale in and just stack. You can have a trading account and you can have an investing account as well. That's a really good thing to do. Just a quick note, I've updated the upper boundaries of ETH and also of copper inside the service. Unfortunately, the vast majority of people are totally unaware of structural resistance levels inside the market. We can see for total crypto market cap, we had structural resistance around that $2.56 trillion mark, and we had structural resistance around that 2.54 mark. As we came through, it was going to just obviously encounter a lot of sellers. If we got above here, reconfirmed it as support, okay, we're off to the races, but that didn't occur. We were flirting with the upper level, but it didn't confirm. It failed. And as a result, we've had some negative price momentum inside the crypto market. We're now approaching a level where we could confirm and start to go back and seek to get above this 2.57 trillion for a bullish case. That will be largely dependent on what the major market indices do, so please keep that in mind. You must look outside of crypto to understand crypto. When we look at Bitcoin, it had really severe structural resistance at that 71,800 mark. It maintained a level around that 71,300 mark, but it just couldn't get above this structural resistance. Structural resistance here is drawn over all price history, and we can see there's been multiple safety nets that have caught Bitcoin, and it's currently doing a bit of a retrace. At the current time of recording, Bitcoin was 70,295. A bullish case would represent itself like this kind of price action. So just bear in mind, that's what you want to see in terms of the structural levels. A bearish case would be something like this, going up and under testing around that 70,000 and then moving down to the 69,330 mark. Turning to Ethereum, which is probably one of the most major ones that we want to understand at the current time, we saw up here above that 3,800 mark, there was a level of structural resistance that ETH just simply couldn't get through. It couldn't reconfirm as support and just continue on its way up. What often happens is when we get a big move up, a lot of the longs go in because they're pulled in because of positive price action. They do tend to get liquidated down to a reasonable area of strong structural support, for example, that 3,700 mark. This acts as a safety net to rebound price. And just be aware that Ethereum just crushed its high-level positive price path upper boundary, which was around that 37.25 mark. So ETH has done really, really well. It has some positive price momentum because it's getting pulled up by the major market indices. This way of looking at the market is undoubtedly a deep dive because you're becoming aware of total structural levels. Structural levels are drawn across all of price history, not just recent indicative price, which will RIP your money. You can see also that the US liquidity indicator is on. US liquidity is coming out of the market, but there are always lags between liquidity and what the market does. So please be aware of that. One thing that we want to just bear in mind is what is the directional correlation between Bitcoin and Ethereum. You'll note that it moves directionally in alignment. This is normal. The higher the probability of a Fed ease, the lower the yields will tend to go, and this puts positive price momentum inside major markets and risk-on assets such as crypto. So we want this 3.6% to go up as high as it possibly can. It's a really good thing to keep this in mind. Coming up in the next 24 to 48 hours, there's a lot of very important data releases occurring in the main markets. And when you look at the FOMC meeting minutes, that's from last month, that can actually move markets around. So please be aware of that. Existing home sales and new home sales can be a really good indicator of consumer sentiment. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again in the next video. Bye for now.